What is up, guys? I'm Mikey at 31 here, Madden 17 playbook review time. We're on to the Steelers. These aren't your grandfather's Pittsburgh Steelers. They're not even your father's Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers are, of course, one of the oldest rich franchises in the league, and they tend to be typecast as, tough, physical, gritty, real meat and potatoes, rust belt football in a way. And, historically, that's been by and large true. But really, by and large, since Ben Roethlisberger has blossomed to become what he is, and especially over the past, I would say, 4 to 5 years, I would say around maybe, 2013, 2014, they're a offense that has consistently been among the most aggressive when it comes to passing the football. They're very similar offensively to, say, the Arizona Cardinals and the San Diego Chargers. When they throw the ball, they're not fooling around. They want to get yardage in chunks. They're consistently among the league leaders among yards per attempt, and Bruce Arians, Ken Whisenhunt, Todd Haley, they are all kind of part of the same coaching circle. And I was having a really nice conversation earlier on this evening with Grafster. We're talking about how the NFL has really become Bill Walsh's vision. The short passing game is king, and really, if you're going to be an offense that likes to establish or throw the ball deep consistently, you have to be either really gifted at quarterback, have a very good offensive line, have a strong running game that opens up the threat to play action pass, because truthfully, most deep throws in the NFL are off a play action pass. It's really, really tough to throw the ball consistently down the field deep in the NFL and be efficient doing it. Unless you just have, freaks of nature to the outside that can be walking mismatches either at tight end, wide receiver, even out of the backfield. And if your quarterback if your quarterback doesn't have a quick trigger and can get the ball out, he's going to be getting himself killed because you just don't have on a time. There is a price to be paid on your quarterback's durability for playing offense like that. I mean, the flip side to Pittsburgh's aggressiveness is that Big Ben takes a lot of hits. He stands in there and he really takes a pound in getting that ball down the field. Philip Rivers in San Diego, same philosophy but different way of doing it. He has one of the weirder throwing motions you'll ever see, but he's got just exceptional, really, really great anticipation and timing on his throws that compensates for the fact he doesn't have a world class, howitzer. Heck, even Carson Palmer, when he was playing at his peak, same type of guy. Strong armed, holds the ball, hangs in there, and drives the ball down the field. Sometimes the other team, but you get the idea. So, how does that translate into the video game world? In this game, this playbook is really similar to Arizona, which makes sense for the reasons that I mentioned earlier. Here's a weird little oddity. This bubble screen here is actually not tied to play action, and as a result, the timing is different. And if you throw it too early, you run the risk of one of your receivers not quite getting in position to make a block. But as far as Madden 17 goes, really strong passing playbook. It's got a lot of goodies. Lot of goodies. Out of shotgun, you got a nice mix of zone and power runs. Gun doubles, you got a very strong gun double set. One of the strongest I've seen in this game. Strong flood curl, flats, angle smash. Play action, vertical shots. You have a wide receiver outplay. A couple of deep flood concepts. You got a corner strike. Here I'm running angle smash. I choose smash here. I had this guy off balance as a user for most of the game. Play action comeback, great play. I'm surprised more people didn't run the comeback route this year. It was a really good route. You have some well-intentioned automotion plays. You have that automotion Z spot and Y seam off of that flanker drive. Flanker drive is an old reliable. If they don't use her or make an adjustment to take away that shallow cross, you just take it every time. I wish double moves were viable against zone coverage in this game, but they just they just don't do anything against zones because of the way the defenders don't lose any speed moving laterally. So, that Y seems a waste. And really going back to my conversation with Graster, that's a part of the game that a lot of what you see in the real world doesn't really work in this game because part of being able to break down a defense down the field is putting defenders in conflict. And if you can't really do that based off of how the fact that players are able to take away multiple levels with one guy, you can't really do things like isolate an athletic mismatch, such as a real dynamic move tight end like a Jordan Reed, and have him bust down the seam on a corner post or a post corner against a linebacker, which most of the time the linebacker will have no chance against. Or you run a slot receiver against a quarters coverage safety and snap him off on double move to force the safety to change directions and move his hips like a corner, which he's not accustomed to doing. That part of the downfield passing game is non-existent. A guy like Antonio Brown, he runs some of the most dynamic routes in the entire league. He's arguably the best route runner in the league. But those routes, those double move, aggressive change of direction routes and releases, they don't either don't exist in this game or they don't translate in the game. Sluggos, hitch and go, stutter goes, post corner, corner post, chair routes, they're not really part of the equation. You do have some of those routes from these playbooks, but well, they work against man coverage. Anything works against man coverage, basically. But against zone, even if you have a situation where you're able to isolate a defender one-on-one to the outside or in the slot, or if you use motion to move a guy in line to off the line of scrimmage or in the slot, either out of the backfield or from a tight end position, it doesn't really translate at all. This Steeler empty set's one of my favorite empty sets in the entire game. It's really good. So going back to my point, it may sound like that I'm bashing the playbook, which in a way I kind of am. I think that's a legitimate criticism of not only this playbook but all the playbooks in the game. But overall, for the game's purposes and how the game operates, is really very strong. You have a trio set here that gun trio. You have a very strong gun bunch, gun doubles. You have a snugs and a shotgun close set, as well as a split close set, and you have a wide trips wing set. So you have just a bevy of stuff to attack people based off of how the game plays and how people want to play defense. And you have enough stuff that is outside of the common stuff that you see to throw some curveballs. You have some nice route combinations here out of these single back doubles, and you see what I mean. You have those unique route releases to the outside certainly, but you just can't really break them off. They either develop so slowly that you're going to be running for your life before they are breaking open, or they just don't conflict the defender. So you end up having to resort to a one-on-one, spec catch chance if you just had to try to throw them. The I-Form Pro, your usual schlock here. You have a real paucity of weak side runs. Again, going back to my conversation with Graster, let's say you have a tight end like a Jordan Reed who's not really an inline blocker. What do you do if you run, toward him? You're gonna have him trying to block a guy like Ray Nitschke. Can't do it, and you can't run weak side, and you have to manually put him in motion to get him into the slot, and even then, you're limited with what you can do with him. So you have some real mechanical shortcomings that rear their ugly head, even more so than usual because the rest of the playbook is just so damn good. It's really loaded and really fits the meta of the game. And like I said earlier, it's very similar to the Cardinals playbook. I actually like it slightly better than the Cardinals playbook. I just had a really high comfort level in navigating around it and finding what I wanted to do, and not having much of a shortage of things to do, despite the flaws that I mentioned. So yeah, it's right up there with the top playbooks in the game. I put it at number three, but it's also very frustrating because there's just so much more that you can potentially do out of it that you can't based off of how the game plays. mechanically and player movement wise. So, that's my take on the Steelers playbook. Love to hear your guys' thoughts. Only got three more to go. We have the Texans, Titans, and the Vikings left. Hope you guys enjoy. I'll talk to you all later. Peace.